Hey, Wemberg World Entertainment, and we're just a couple of days away from the launch of Star Trek Starfleet Academy. God help every single one of us. But of course, we know they had their premiere on the blue carpet, and they brought everyone they knew would be on their side to review it. Now, they gave critics the first 6 episodes to watch. That's right, 6 episodes, and I believe it only has 10 episodes. And the reviews are exactly what you would think they would be. They're those things that say, this is terrible, but we love it. And it's like, why would you say it's terrible, but you love it? Like, when you're getting headlines that say Starfleet Academy is a solid successor to the Star Trek legacy, and then continues, Starfleet Academy follows in the style of Discovery for better and occasionally worse, but builds something interesting of its own out of inheriting the legacy of Star Trek. So that's meant to be a headline that gets you buzzing for the show when they're saying for better or for worse, it follows Discovery. Then you get headlines that say Starfleet Academy really isn't your parents' Star Trek. The Star Trek franchise's biggest swing in years is both radical and wholesome. And the first sentence in the review for this article says this: who is Star Trek for? ? And it goes on and talks about garbage, and you're just like, are you kidding me? But they've also released a new clip. Now, I'll show you the first part of the clip, and I'll show you a couple of the reviews from Rotten Tomatoes. There's only 20 reviews, and it's from the critics. It's all critics at the moment, not just top critics. I don't think any of them are actually top critics. And it's the usual crap. There's only 3 rotten reviews. Everything else is fresh, even though they don't read that way. And of course, the score is 84%. But you're trying to tell us that this is true Star Trek, that they finally nailed it and they're back, and this is what every Trekkie loves and will be jumping for joy for. Do you want to see what appears to be the first interaction between the cadets and the EMH? You really want to see it? Okay, here's the first part of it. Brace yourself for this absolute cringe fest.
Next, that would be you, Pouty.
Yeah, no, I don't need a...
Holy parasite. Where did you come in contact with Aurelian lung maggots? And what are they doing in your lower bowels? You bathe in a bog?
What?
Ah! Sorry to say, I've healed you. Now, no more bogs. And keep a close eye on your bowel movements for the next 3 days. Call me if anything moves. Actually, don't.
So you can see there, it's meant to be jokey. Oh, let's just take the piss. Because why wouldn't you? Because that's what Star Trek's always been. And why can't he grab the hologram's arm? It makes no sense. And if his hand goes through the hologram, how's the hologram holding the hypo spray? Figure that one out. Why does the Klingon wince at getting the hypo spray? That's the point of hypo sprays. They don't hurt. It's just, it melts your brain. But then, let's have a look at some of these reviews. And then I'll show you the rest of that clip. Because the next clip, like part of that clip, just shows you exactly what Alex Kurtzman's Star Trek is. And what we're in store for with this show. And just how far the franchise has actually fallen. But the first review here, by the way, this is a fresh review, says, while it has some stumbles and won't be for everyone, Academy captures the spirit of Star Trek while translating it into a new format for the franchise, all by allowing the next generation to guide the way for what Starfleet and Trek should become. So they're talking about, this thing shows us what Star Trek should become. And this is one of the issues, because all the articles you can actually read about the show talk about how it's super teeny bopper crap and that it's for teenagers, that they've tried to make this thing outright for teens. Next one, this is a 7 out of 10. Not all of them have the scores on it, but this one does, and it's a 7 out of 10. Star Trek Starfleet Academy balances nostalgia, politics, and coming-of-age stakes, delivering accessible Trek that honors legacy while confidently charting tomorrow. That's a 7 out of 10. And it's like coming of age on politics And then you're saying nostalgia. Why is there nostalgia in it? Again, it's meant to take place over 1,000 years after Kirk's time. So, not even our time, Kirk's time. So, why would they have to rely so heavily on nostalgia? Next one is also a 7 out of 10. The show, like the cadets, may currently be a little rough around the edges, but they both have a lot of potential. That's a 7 out of 10 score. By saying, well, it's got potential. But there is one that's coming up here, and it's hilarious, by the way. So the next one says, Starfleet Academy clearly has a lot of love for what has come before it, and how that history will shape its next generation. By the way, you're going to see a lot of them saying next generation. But it also loves Star Trek enough to keep trying to push it forward too. That's a weird and peculiar statement to say. It loves it so much, it wants to push it so far forward and all this crap. It's like, what? But he's saying it clearly has a lot of love for what's come before. You've just watched the first bit of the clip with the EMH, where it's just like this big joke. Are you ready to see the rest of that clip? The rest of the clip that shows us what they've done to Star Trek and how far the franchise has actually fallen. Now keep in mind, Starfleet is not a military operation. It can be run like it though, and Starfleet Academy was very much run like a military course like thing, where you basically have to qualify. It wasn't a case of you could just sign up and there you go, you just do a few courses and boom, you're a Starfleet officer. No, you have to have what it took. That was the key thing. Don't forget, Wesley Crusher, you're shown, was the boy genius in the show in TNG. He failed his entry exam the first time round to enter Starfleet Academy. That doesn't seem to be the case anymore. Not just have we already seen all the fatties that are clearly in modern Trek, but wait to see this one. The clip just needs to speak for itself. Check this out.
Next.
I think I swallowed my comm badge.
Already?
Yeah.
Tricorder. Medical tricorder.
Ow!
Oh, don't be a baby.
Yeah. If I told you about that scene and didn't show you that scene, you probably wouldn't believe me. She thinks, not even she did, she thinks she swallowed her comm badge. And the worst part about it is, the doctor's response is, already? Is it a regular occurrence that these people are swallowing their comm badges? What? And what's a hypospray supposed to do? He asks for a tricorder, then he says medical tricorder, but then hits her with a hypospray and says next. It's like, so you did nothing with the tricorder, but why did you give her a hypospray for swallowing her comm badge? I can't figure that out. Why did the idiot swallow her comm badge? How did the idiot swallow her comm badge? And how does she only think that she swallowed her comm badge? The best of the best, people. That's what Starfleet's meant to be. The best of the best. And these retarded cadets are eating and swallowing their comm badges. But let's continue then with the reviews, because, like, good God, it gets worse. It really does. So Star Trek endures because it keeps returning to the radical idea that hope is something you build patiently over time. Whether this series can live up to that legacy remains an open question, but it's planting some of the right seeds. I highly doubt that. The same idiot who wrote the headline of Starfleet Academy really isn't your parents' Star Trek, and then went ahead and wrote the first line of his article saying, "Who is Star Trek for?" writes this as his review on Rotten Tomatoes. Starfleet Academy may not be the show hardcore Trekkies were expecting. It is certainly and undeniably new. That's it. That's his fresh review for Starfleet Academy. It's definitely new. Well, yes. That's the point of it. It is brand new, yes. Well done. But what do you want to tell us about it? So he flat out says, yeah, Trekkies are going to hate this thing, but you can't argue that it's new. So, wow. Put the glass down and walk away from it, you goddamn window licker. So the next one, a noble experiment with some promising aspects and others that need a little remedial work. Next one, does this blend of old and new, at least new to Star Trek, actually work. At times, almost shockingly well. At others, there are as many growing pains and awkward interactions for Starfleet Academy itself as there are for its students. The next one, right now Starfleet Academy has potential, but it needs to be less soap opera and have some bigger sci-fi ideas as part of the mix. So that sounds like you're not really getting the kind of exploration stuff, which you're really not getting in any of Kurtzman's track anyway. Next one, Starfleet Academy is a worthy entry in that legacy, using established characters to connect to its previous shows while being free to push the Federation story far beyond Kirk and Picard's adventures. Why are you having to establish or use the legacy of established characters and then say you're so to push the story beyond Kirk and Picard? You should be well beyond Kirk and Picard because you're over 1,000 years beyond Kirk and Picard, and yet you're relying on the established characters. Yeah. Next one. This is a new, exciting frontier for Star Trek that breaks up the formula and is definitely worth turning into. I doubt that. Now, here's the only negative reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. There's only 3 of them, and this is all 3 of them. The first one is Starfleet Academy isn't a miss, but it is a mess. One that has a chance to figure itself out in the back half of the season and become a compelling story about working together to try to protect those who need protection. Now, if you read that up in the first batch of reviews, that would have been a fresh review. This guy gives it a negative review, but writes it the same way all those other idiots were writing it. The next negative one says, the show has the vibe of teen dramedy, and the lack of exploration runs counter to exploring strange new worlds, etc. Given that the Federation has encountered over 4,000 new species, there doesn't seem a need to find any more. So it sounds like they've just given up exploration. And the last negative review is, if teens do want to get into Star Trek, well, there are far better entry points to be found on the same app this will be streaming on. So he's flat out saying, just watch the original stuff, don't watch this crap. Then the next one, 7 out of 10. Action and a touch of soapy melodrama are mixed into an innovative and rich portrayal of the future and what it could hold, making Starfleet Academy a solid debut that has the potential to become one of the strongest Star Trek series in the years to come. Wow, what's that guy smoking? He needs to give it up to say this will be one of the best Star Trek shows ever to be. Yeah, good looking, thanks. This one is a 9 out of 10. Writing, Starfleet Academy is the best example of what Star Trek can and should be doing in this modern era. Effortlessly inclusive, compelling, and innovative. So their whole thing is it's inclusive. And the next one, there are a lot of good and new ideas here, which I always want from Star Trek, but some of the execution is sloppy. A 7.5 out of 10. Then the show gets better as it goes on, especially in its thoughtful and joyous 4th episode and its hilarious, cannon-rattling 5th entry. You notice he's also saying the hilarious 5th episode. Only 2 more. A necessary course correction, occasionally bogged down in maternal issues. And I'll get to that. That's a fresh. And the last one is, classic Trekkies should find more than enough to enjoy here. And placing the Academy aboard a starship means that there's still opportunity for movement and action on a regular basis, not dependent entirely on classroom activity to enthrall audiences. So he's saying because it's on a ship, there's loads of room for to have action and stuff like that. And yet we've already had someone else say the show goes nowhere. Like, it's lacking the sci-fi elements. But the maternal thing, yeah. 2 of the girls apparently have daddy issues, but the main character, Caleb or whatever he's called, he wants to search for his mother. That's the premise of the show. And the irony is, when you start reading all these reviews, they break it down to being the point of the whole maternal issue thing in the show ruins the show. And yet, they still try and tell you that they love the show, and yet the main thing that the show is about, they hate. How does that work? Figure that one out. Then, of course, you have the characters that the female Jem'Hadar / Klingon is meant to be hilarious, because they got a comedian to play it who knows she's funny, but doesn't know she's funny, but says things that are really funny. If you see her interview, she just repeats herself over and over again, and half her stuff apparently is ad-libbed, and it's like, you're not very good at it. Then, of course, Holly Hunter's character, Captain Ake, we've been told doesn't wear shoes. Now, in the first promotional stuff, she seems to be wearing shoes, but for the rest of the show, apparently she doesn't wear shoes. She refuses to wear shoes. The character hates shoes. She's also meant to be 300 years old. Maybe that's why she sounds like she's two bleeding eggs in her mouth, because you can't understand a word she says. There's so much more that we've heard, and Alan Ing watched the first 3 episodes, and he was on FNT and kind of explained a bit what to expect, and it just sounds horrible. We're not going to go too much into it, but he says Captain Ake sits on the captain's chair like a cat curling up on a couch. That's the type of way she sits in the chair. She doesn't sit with a 40. She curls up in it like a cat. And you're just like, oh. But then it's meant to be super jokey and like a real comedy and teeny crap and shoved in your face and all this stuff. And the thing is going to be a disaster. And then, of course, Robert Picardo's gone out there and decided to attack the fans before the show even comes out. But he's trying to do the whole thing of, oh, Star Trek has always been woke. That word's just been commandeered and used for racism, blah blah blah. It's like, Robert, shut the hell up. No, it has never been. It's always been woke. You only say that when you know what you have made is crap. Saying Star Trek has always been woke, no, it hasn't always been woke. Just because it used to be inclusive isn't woke. Do you know what's woke? Doing a show where your entire cast are bloody gay, you've excluded straight white people. The one white dude you do have in it is meant to be a bollocks in it. He's meant to be like the bully and the guy that just is irritating. Everyone else is bloody gay, black, brown, you name it. And then the fact that their real life sexualities and mindset and stuff is what makes the character who the character is. So they're playing themselves. They're not even playing characters. All you have to do is look at George Takei. The dude's actually a gay man, and yet he didn't play a gay character in Star Trek. In fact, when Star Trek Beyond told him, hey, we're going to make Sulu gay in this to like give you a tip of the hat, and he said, don't do it. And they still did it, but when he got asked, you know, you told them not to do it. Why? You know, they were doing that to honor you. Like, why did you tell them not to make Sulu gay in the movie? And he said, because that's not how Sulu was written. That's not who the character is. What he said right there was, yeah, I wasn't portraying myself in that show. I was portraying a character. These people can't do that. They have to play themselves. So this show is going to be an absolute dumpster fire. You're going to be watching it. I'm going to review it. God help me, I'll probably want to kill myself after it. In Minecraft, of course. But you've seen more clips now from it. So for everybody that jumps in and goes, you're basing everything off a couple of clips, give the show a chance. No, because that's what the clips and trailers are meant to do. They're meant to hype you for it. And when what we're shown is dog shit garbage, then our minds are already made up. So let's wait and see what we actually get with this and just how bad it actually is. So with that, I shall leave it there for this one. So do like, share, subscribe, hit the hype button, all that good stuff. Cheers. Catch you in the next one.